Okay, you know what? One was fine. One, it was okay. You know, it happens. You go from one team to another. That's fine. Two, oh, you're really starting to grind my gears now, man. But still, I can understand it. The money, it was good, okay. But three, Vancouver Canucks signing with the Flames. And for this one, it doesn't even piss me off because the Canucks got outbid or this is the player they needed or whatever. To be fair, I'm happy with Holtby Demko. But the Calgary Flames have signed Louis Domingue to a $700,000 one-year two-way contract. What is this? 3 former Vancouver Canucks going over to Calgary in what is now what we're going to call the Calgary Canucks. And yes, I made this joke on Twitter yesterday. The Calgary Canucks are a Junior A hockey team playing in the AJHL. This is Junior A hockey. This is the league that Cale Makar played in when he was drafted. And the Calgary Canucks are a real hockey team, you know? Yeah, it's the BCHL's equivalent in Alberta. They're a Calgary team, and now the Calgary Flames essentially look like this as well. What in the world? Louis Domingue was a guy whom the Vancouver Canucks didn't really get all too familiar with because, hey, he was acquired late into the year. This was mostly because of a panic kind of situation. The Vancouver Canucks swapped out Zane McIntyre, who is a guy whom I don't really know if a lot of Canucks fans would remember, but he was traded over to New Jersey in exchange for Louis Domingue, who spent a short but lovable time here in Vancouver. He wasn't really played all too much. He wasn't really doing all too much on the ice, but he was a guy who did bake some really nice sweets for the Vancouver Canucks in the bubble, and we all kind of recognize that there was an intrinsic value of actually having somebody like this in the locker room. But it kind of pisses me off that it was Calgary, man. What's going on here? Again, I don't care that the Canucks lost out on Domingue because we got Holtby, we got Demko, we got DiPietro on the farm, it's all good. But the fact that it was Calgary too? What, are you guys gonna go for Toffoli now, huh? Oh my goodness. The Calgary Flames have just acquired Jacob Markstrom, Chris Tanev, and Louis Domingue for free. I mean, it's not for free. They shelled out some money to do it, but like, for free. No assets, no nothing, going to Vancouver because, hey, they're free agents. They can do what they want. But now it's like, okay, the Vancouver Canucks have, oh my goodness, the Calgary Flames have signed more Canucks UFAs than the Canucks have signed UFAs, period. Some teams are just out here wheeling and dealing. We spoke about this earlier with Detroit. They got Troy Stecher earlier today, and that was a very expectedly impactful move to the Vancouver Canucks collective fan base. And I think just everything piling up on each other where the Vancouver Canucks are losing out on their UFAs, some of them fairly. As I said, Markstrom, Tanev would not have wanted to match those contracts. I love those guys. Awesome for those guys to get that money, but my goodness, 6 years for Markstrom, 6x6, that's a lot. And 4 years for Chris Tanev, especially at that cap hit when he plays such a fragile game with an aging body. Man, I wouldn't have wanted that contract to be on Vancouver. But the fact is, the Canucks lost out on these players, and that was disheartening. The fact is, the Canucks lost out on Troy Stecher. And sure, he took a huge pay cut to go to Detroit because he said it himself in the media. He felt like Detroit wanted him, and being wanted is indeed a valuable part of the negotiation. You know, there's a very human element to these contract negotiations here. That was a big blow to the Canucks collective fan base. So those three already piling up in there. And all of a sudden, Louis Domingue goes to Calgary too. I said this earlier in the video, but oh man, the league, man, the hockey gods, they're really testing my capacity of sanity here and patience with all these former Canucks going to Calgary. And the emotional attachment to that as well. Oh man, it's heavy. Heavy, heavy, heavy. So, I guess for the Calgary Flames fan base that's out here, hey, you guys want to talk about Louis Domingue? Let's talk about Louis Domingue. We've spoken about a whole bunch of other Vancouver Canucks going over to your team, so let's talk about one more. Louis Domingue is indeed a 28-year-old goaltender. He's a guy who was honestly pretty solid in the limited time he spent with the Vancouver Canucks. He played one game, he played 59 minutes, and he let in 4 goals, which wasn't amazing, but hey, at least he did his part. But for that Calgary Flames team that now has Markstrom and Rittich, you have yourselves that Louis Domingue that'll probably play over there in your farm system, get called up once in a while when one of your goalies gets injured. And for Jacob Markstrom, he's a guy who hasn't really been the healthiest his entire career, I will say that. So It would not surprise me if the Calgary Flames saw a few games of Louis Domingue in action for 2020-2021, but hey, you still have Chris Tanev in front though, blocking those shots, so even if you guys do have Domingue, who was at a 4 goals against average with Vancouver, it still would be fine. All you guys need now is that Tyler Toffoli to complete the trifecta, and or hey, maybe an Oscar Fantenberg too. You guys can definitely get that one as well. He's another guy whom the Vancouver Canucks are apparently going after now, so why don't you go in and swoop him too? But talk to me in the comments what you think about Louis Domingue going to Calgary. Again, this isn't really the biggest of moves. It's just piled up with everything else we've had to digest earlier. It certainly is another one of these punches to the gut, it feels like. But talk to me in the comments what you think about the Calgary Canucks. I hope you enjoyed this video. So that's Troll 99. And bye.